So whenever I cover a subject in Studio One, sometimes I like to do a cluster of videos. It might be anywhere from 2 to 5 videos on one specific subject so that you have all of the information that you could potentially need. And if you're actually looking at my videos or my blog on my website, that you can see videos before and after that should cover everything from A to Z that you need to know. So I spent a lot of time talking about the video track, setting up timecode, working with different frame rates, what that means. And then in a previous video, we also talked about creating 2-pops in Studio One, the different frame durations, the different actual lengths and how they differ from wall clock, all sorts of things like that. So this is all useful information. But if you're a composer and you're writing stuff in advance that you want to pitch to different libraries, or maybe you want to post them on Audio Jungle or anything like that, you could potentially have a lot of sessions where you basically have just stems. So that's what I have over here. I have some stems. Now, if this was an actual production session, it may very well be that you have virtual instruments and MIDI, actual MIDI events or instrument parts versus the stems. The reason this is stems is this because something that I mixed this library and I was required to deliver stems plus the actual stereo mixes. So if we listen to everything, and we have different elements over here. So for example, we could listen to the bass. And we have choir, we have an orchestra, we have percussion, maybe we'll go over here. And then we have piano, and last but not least, we have synth. So these are all of the stems that comprise and make up this cue. All right. Now, let's say the cue was at a very specific BPM. I don't really know the BPM of this, and it doesn't really matter. Just for sake of demonstration, I just put in 100 just to have something different than 120. So the issue then becomes, okay, you have your sessions and they start exactly at bar 1, or maybe they start exactly at bar 3 or something like that, but you need to be able to insert a 2-pop, and maybe you need to quickly open up a version of that session, do a save as, import a video that has a 2-pop on it and a specific time code, and then do a layback for somebody to see if they want to purchase that. Or maybe they have purchased it and you need to send it out to the producer or the director or something like that. I'm going to show you a really easy way that we can do this. So we're set to 100 BPM. Let's really quickly check to see what our frame rate is. Let's set this to 23.976. And let's assume that we started a cue, it started exactly at bar 1, we were given a video that has a 2-pop, and we need to 2-pop this whole production. Now this production could have lots of automation, everything, and you don't want to mess it up by trying to select everything and then move it and then put a 2-pop there and get it in alignment. You just want a really quick and easy way to be able to do that. Now the way that I do this is by using the arranger track. So let's close the tempo track just for a moment and let's take a look at the arranger. Now, I don't have the exact right BPM here. I can tell, I might, but I doubt it. But what I've done is I've drawn an arranger block that ends at a bar and I've extended a little bit. Then I just imported a 2-pop slug. We talked about creating these. If you're following me, you've probably created your own. You just import this on a track, and the first thing you want to do is open up the inspector, and we're going to set this to don't follow. Also, this one doesn't have any tempo information, but if you do have tempo information, you could also clear that, delete it, so that it's not resizing and messing anything up. Okay, so here is the easy part. It's really easy to do, and it doesn't matter how much automation or anything like that you have. I'm going to open up the tempo track, and because we've set this to don't follow, the first thing I do is when I drag this in, I made sure that I dragged it into a bar boundary, and I added a tempo note here, 100 BPM. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to use that trick where, let me change my range. We'll change this a little bit like this. We're going to use this trick again where we hold down the command modifier, control on a PC, and because we have snapping on, and because I have the snap to events on, I can very quickly snap the bar 54 boundary. It'll snap exactly to the end of this event. So now this event is exactly 1 bar at a very specific tempo, which is 119.8801. Now, that doesn't matter. It's not going to mess up our music or anything, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose the arranger track, and let's zoom out a little bit. And actually, first of all, I will hold down command. I'm going to draw in a section over here. We can even call this 2-pop, and we can give this a nice bright color. Now, with the arranger track selected, I like to give a space, at least 1 or 2 bars space between the end of the production and everything else, because the way that we can work with the arranger track is we can literally just insert this at the very beginning. So let's actually zoom so we can fill everything over here. And now with the arranger track selected and the inspector open, just click, hold, and drag to reposition this, and we can choose to insert this. So now what ends up happening, we have just inserted the 2-pop into the very beginning of the session. And then, of course, like we know from our previous videos, it's very easy for us to set the time code to be 59:58. And then we know that our bar 1 will start exactly on the 0-1 counter, which is the first frame of action. So this is a really easy way, and it doesn't matter how much automation or anything like that you have. You just insert it, and it's going to push everything over, and all your automation will remain intact. Now, I'm going to scroll down here. Let's move this down even further. Let's move it down to like 57. Okay, so everything just follows with it, the tempo and everything like that. Let's say for a moment that this actually, that you did something where you started at bar 3. Maybe you didn't actually start everything at bar 1, that you started at bar 3. Let's move all of this down to bar 3. And then, of course, we have to extend our arranger track by grabbing the end here to the nearest handle. What I would do at that point is I would say, okay, I need to put a little split in this arranger track. And then I would quite simply replace the 2-pop with the intro. So if you had kind of like 2 bars of silence that you gave yourself, I know some people like to start at bar 8 or bar 3. It's very easy to snip that out. And then if we wanted to add a 2-pop to this, it would just be a matter of click, holding, and drag and over top, and we could actually replace this. And now I've just 2-popped this production with the proper frame rate and everything, and I could do a video layback really quickly. Anyways, I hope that this helps some people. I definitely know that when I was doing some laybacks with Studio One and I had some stuff that was basically just started at bar 1 or bar 3, once I used the arranger track and did that tempo adjustment and then just used the either overwrite or insert, very easy to insert a 2-pop into any pre-existing session. And like I said, it doesn't have to be audio. You could also be working with virtual instruments and stuff that has not yet been rendered to audio, but you have peace of mind that you're inserting your 2-pop and your timecode frame rates are all going to match up. And then you're going to use the offsets like I did in the other video to make sure that everything's perfect. Anyways, hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.